Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Daily D. And if you haven't already done this, I'm going to tell you every time, go ahead and subscribe down below to this channel. So, sorry I'm a little out of breath, but I was doing something. Anyways, today's topic is a knife, speed, danger, risk, but most importantly, opportunity. So, this weekend I had a small get together for my wife's birthday, and for her birthday, I said we're gonna do something cool, but obviously with all that's going on in the world, we can't do a lot of things because of obviously there's just a lot going on. So I decided to do a small get together at her home, and to to cater to this event. I didn't know what I was going to do because when you have a small event, it's really hard to get. It's not going to say catering, but sometimes catering, they want to do big stuff and you want to do something small. And so anyways, I ended up doing some brisket, and I love brisket. We're from Texas, so Texas brisket, amazing. But so some Texas brisket, some pickles, and jalapenos and onions and all those things. And so as I was preparing, I'm very self-reliant, by the way. I don't like asking people for much. I mean, I'll pay people to do things, but I won't ask for favors. I'm just not a favor guy. I don't think that's just not in me. I like to compensate people for their time, their energy, and I just didn't want that, right? So the only people I'll ever ask for a favor is like my real close family, and that's even seldom and far in between. But I was very fortunate, by the way, to have some help from her family. But anyways, so as I was preparing for this event, I realized that we didn't have any onions cut, and we were going to make some brisket sandwiches. And I love onions myself, and I figured some other people might too. So I started to get worried. It was probably about an hour and a half before the event was going to start, and I said, "Oh, I better cut these onions." So I took it upon myself to cut onions, and I'm not a cutter, if you will, but I know how to cut, and I said, okay, I'll do it, right? Whoa. So I took on the challenge of cutting the onions. And so I cut one, I cut two, it was on my third onion, and I looked at my watch and gosh, man, time's running out, I better move fast. So I start trying to move faster, and as I moved faster through these onions, I realized it was getting more difficult to move fast. In one cut, I almost took off my finger. I cut down and I hit my finger with the knife, and I'm talking about a big knife, and it cut me. And I started to bleed right away, and I felt it. And I'm standing there, and I have another Karen sisters in the room with me, and she's decorating, and so I'm there, and I just stay quiet, go grab a napkin, wrap my finger, I look at the onion, I say, we're done. And I stopped cutting, but I cut 2.5 onions before I got there, almost 3. But as I cut my finger, I didn't make any noise, I didn't complain, I didn't cry, I didn't yell, I didn't scream, I didn't make any noises at all. In fact, I said, that's what you get for trying to go too fast when you're doing something that's dangerous. And I'm going to share this with you. Man, this thing looks real tight right there. You go. I'm going to share this with you because, sometimes just in life, you're going to move really fast. And sometimes you're going to move slow, and sometimes you're just not going to move. But the challenge here is that when there's danger involved, sometimes you're going to get cut. And during those times when you get cut, you have to make a decision. Do I cry? Do I whine? Do I bitch? Really? Do I scream? Do I holler? Or do I take it up, suck it up, and move on? See, it was my wife's day, not my day. And even if I would have cut my damn finger off, I wouldn't have stopped. So I stopped cutting, right? But I wasn't going to stop the party. I wasn't going to stop the gathering. I wasn't going to ruin her day. Why? Not just because she's my wife, but because there's always going to be something that cuts me, man. There's always going to be something that cuts you and me. It's going to be some harsh words. It's going to be the stock market. It's going to be a friend. It's going to be a family member. Somebody's going to cut me, literally. I mean, figuratively, really, literally, not like this, but figuratively. And so I challenge you every day to see those cuts, to be honest with you, and learn from them. Now what do? I'm going to buy me an onion slicer. That's what I learned. I didn't learn not to cut onions again. I learned I'm going to cut them a different way, and I'm going to take my time, and I'm going to be gentle, and I'm going to learn from this mistake so it doesn't happen again. Just like in life, you let something happen to you more than once, well, you made a mistake, right? You've got to learn from these mistakes, and so I did. I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to use an onion slicer, but most importantly, I'm going to do my best to not get cut again. You see, if I do it once, it's a mistake. If I do it twice, that's intentional. So we learn from these things. So I ask you today, what have you been cut by more than one time? What have you been cut by? Because if you've been cut more than once by the same thing, same person, same outcome, then you need to change, take a different approach. And the approach for me, onion slicer. Maybe your approach is something different. Maybe it's change your attitude, right? Change the investment strategy, change your savings habits, change your eating habits. These are things that you can change for the strategy. So I hope this helps you, because when I was looking at this morning, I said, God, man, I cut my finger. I said, but this is a good story. I hope this helps you. Wish you health, success, wealth, but most importantly, freedom. Thanks, guys.